Hey everyone, how are you guys doing? My name's Sean Bama with VMRay. We'll get started here in a minute. All right, so today we're going to be talking about how VMRay can help kind of automate your phishing triaging and what we're seeing in the wild as far as the different types of phishing and things like that. So thanks for joining us. So let's just kind of get started here. So just to kind of re-review what phishing is, it's just social engineering of emails, attackers looking to deceive large enterprises, end users through different types of phishing. So, commonly, people will look at large enterprises, medium-sized enterprises, usually for either political reasons, data harvesting, credential harvesting, or any type of ransomware to gain some financial gain out of it. So, with these combos, a lot of organizations have these email security gateways and spam filters and rules like that. But, some of them tend to make it through past these email security gateways. So what do you do in that instance when you have that emails get by your protections? Well, just to kind of give you a high oversight of some of the things that we see, it's still one of the top vectors in our industry. It's always commonly saying that users are the weakest link. That is still true. We still see that within our artifacts and some of the things that we do from data and metrics from the samples that we receive. So recent studies have shown that it's still kind of 90% of the breaches that happen. However, even with the layered approach of protections, it's always good to have some automations and manual analysis as well as automated analysis to kind of catch some of those layers that do fail and depend on your other processes and layers to make sure that you can effectively respond to these. So just looking at some of the numbers, what we've seen here, just from public breaches, some analysis throughout our industry, it seems like it's a clear picture. Phishing is still costly, widespread, shockingly effective, especially against younger and elderly users, kind of that modern age where people are used to large enterprises with emails, phones, laptops, desktops. I think they're a little bit more known to see what phishing looks like, but still, when you have these younger generations coming up and some of these elderly generations still kind of exiting, it's still people are falling victim to it. Like 94% of these, 94% of these malware delivered via email. 50% of those people fell victim to it, either because it looks legitimately real or it's very convincing. And so even that, the ages of 18 and 24, they're still falling victim in today's age. And every one of these younger ages has some type of iPhone, Android, iPad, tablet. So we're just starting to see some of those trends occur. So what do we see in different types of phishing attacks? We see things like deception phishing. So that's kind of just looking at an attacker looking at social engineering tactics to look at utilizing different brands. So things that people are familiar with, like Amazon, banking websites, e-commerce shopping, using these brands to kind of target specific end users or just general spray of emails and deceptions, whether they're targeted to your average Amazon buyer. But these emails are so convincing that even some of these email security gateways or even just normal users without these protections do fall victim to them. So deception is just one of those things, whether it has a link or an embedded file, whether it has drop malware, or just even a redirect or referral where credentials are harvested. It's still one of the top types of phishing attacks that we see within our research. The next one, more commonly known as spear phishing. So that's just looking at cyber criminals gathering sources and trying to target specific individuals within those companies. Whether it's like a public scrape or even just looking at LinkedIn or their titles within the internet, people that go to local conferences, people handing out their business cards. Attackers are able to scrape this off the internet and even target these high-level, C-level people, whether they're CFOs, CEOs, and try to get them to click on something or at least fall victim to something, whether it's, hey, trying to send over, ACH wire transfers and things like that. The next one that we see quite often as well is credential harvesting. So, user is still using part of that deception, and then kind of looking to reiterate and pivot to credential harvesting. A lot of things that we see here are that 58% of emails are now being harvested for credentials. So that is the gain for the attacker to get into that large enterprise, to get into an individual user's banking account or some type of actual, I would say, giving the attacker the access to the enterprise itself or individual accounts for anything that they're targeting. So while we still see this, it's still common, even with email security gateways. So that is kind of scary that it's still getting through, but it's what layers and protections are for when it comes down to credential harvesting. Farming is still something that we see as well. When we start to look at when hijacking of user browser, when there's some malware that's dropped or there's DNS poisoning, tends to be a little bit more than just your average script kiddie. We do see them, but things like redirecting and referrals to malicious websites that also use a little bit of deception out there. We commonly see this when there's like a WordPress server of an SMB or maybe like a web server that's publicly accessed that users or the attackers will use to pivot users to that fake false website, whether it's like a US bank site, put in your credentials and try to clone those websites just to mirror them. But that is still one of the familiar ones that we see as well. When we start to see how we come in the industry as a company, something that we've kind of designed is how can we help solve these problems that emails that get past email security gateways? How do you stop that? What do you do? What would you do as a triaging process, playbooks, things like that? So larger enterprises, MSPs, and MDR services tend to deal with a lot of these just because they're managing the security team's infrastructure, applications, things like that, as well as data and DLP. So when we start to see that, even with educating the end users on how to identify these emails when they get passed through security gateways, tends to be a great way to divert some of those emails and report them to either that security team just to make sure that, hey, this is either a false positive or a true positive, and let them kind of help you determine what's going on there. Now, currently, even though emails have been detected in certain email security gateways, the ones that do get through sometimes are new. They're either older campaigns, newer campaigns. Sometimes they even have malware embedded in them. So for that reason, when we get to look at how can we analyze that email once it's reported to us, something that we do here at VMRay is we have something along the hypervisor level that helps us automate some of those extractions. So malware can't see that we're there because we don't have any processes, services, tasks, or anything like that running in our VMs. We're sitting at that bird's eye view, kind of a cloaked scenario there. So we're invisible to them, but we can see what they're doing and we extract their behavior, their forensics, all the IOCs, and help you classify them within your technology stack so that you guys don't have to actively go digging for these as you see them. So for example, something were to get past the actual email security gateway, whether that's a proof point, abnormal, Mimecast, whatever mechanism you're using. What we see there is email gets sent to the user. The user then looks at it, and then what happens on the training part of it is if that email were to get to your security team, they're going to look at that abuse box or that suspected email box. And how you can do that is through automated submission. So whether you have simulated phishing, education, whether you have your own button within the auto ribbon to report these emails, or even just looking at forwarding that to your security team's special, if you have like a specific email box, um, while that you can train these users to look for, common domains. What we do there is we inspect it. If you were to send it to us when we were to integrate with your process, we would look at that email. We look at the headers, we look at the IPs, we look at what the content, so all the way from the HTML, CSS within that email. We look at any malware, any embedded files, any links, even with redirects, subdirectories, things like that. And then we do the triaging process from there. So if we were to see that within an email that is flagged, so in a scenario where that user reported it to you, we can actually pick up that email from your inbox or your tool. So things like our tools that we have integrations with coming like a KnowBe4 or Proofpoint Clear, we can actually help automate those processes, pull in those emails, and then give you the verdicts back to your technology stacks. So whether that's a SIM, whether that's going back to your email for alerting, like a distro for your team, even a ticketing system. So there are various ways of how we can alert when an email gets past your email security gateway and is reported by your users. So again, that's looking at not only email attachments, but that's looking at URLs. We run it through our reputation just as our first mechanism. We look for any signature-based things along like with file hashes, reputation of that file, any URLs, and then we kind of also look at some of that dynamic behavior. So if it's something we haven't seen, we can also alert on that as well. Now, if there are no matches, kind of going back to that dynamic side, we look at not only the sort of reputational and static, but we also go in and with our machine learning, we'll click on those links, we'll click on that malware, we'll deploy it, we'll reverse engineer it, and then we pull out all the IOCs, the detections, anything within that phishing kit if it was a URL. Then we show you what those interdependencies are so that not only can we just automate a playbook for you, but we can also reduce the workload for your SOC team, your incident response team, and get you a quick answer and eliminate those false positives versus the true positives. So that's all the interdependencies. That is a step-by-step, from malware deployment, what is happening? Is this a payload? Is this an exploit? Is this any type of C2? So that's a combo of our dynamic analysis, our Yara rules, and some of our AB signature base. So with a combo of all three, we're able to kind of narrow those false positives out for you. But with that, on the report side, when we deep dive into them, that's getting into the weeds of how those emails were reported. So are they reaching out to a third-party DNS server where the attacker is hosting a service? Are they extracting information from that endpoint? Are they doing any credential harvesting? And so what are those follow-ups for you? So as we extract these IOCs and things from the malware sample itself, we want to give you more actionable items. So we filter these out for you, whether it's like URL domain, whether it's changes to like registry keys. Is it overtaking MS Encrypt for creating a ransomware and generating a ransomware key and sending out to the attacker? So these different scenarios, we want to help you build a report and give you something that you can actually follow up on as far as defending your enterprise, preventing that from entering your enterprise, or just being able to detect it and quarantine it should it be within your four walls already. So with that, the way that we look at user reported phishing and how we can help your SOC really empower the tools that you have, it's just kind of going back to that scenario where the user gets that email, it gets past your email security gateway, your users then either report it in and we're in your technology stack. So for example, we integrate with all the common SIMs out there, the SOARs, EDR tools. So for example, if we were to get that email and we're integrated with your phishing process, we pick up that email, we send it to our platform. We then create all those IOCs, the forensics, the detectable things like hashes, URLs, anything that was modified for behavior. What we do is we then go back to your SOAR and say, hey, look for these events. If you have us integrated with your infrastructure and your SOAR, we can help you, for example, go out to your email security gateway and look for these detections, look for this, email subject, look for this content within that email, look for these macros and help you pull those emails out of those users' inboxes before they even click on them. So that's kind of the automation piece of where we can help you look at reported phishing when your email security gateway has kind of let that email through. And this is kind of like that second layer to help you improve and automate that so your analysts are not wasting time doing that manually, going to your email security gateway, doing a search, querying it, and then pulling those emails out. So that's where we kind of sit in helping you automate some of those reported phishing emails. Same thing with if you have us integrated with your EDR tools, we can help you indicate and alert on where these are happening on your endpoint. So if that email user was opened and it dropped malware, we can also send those indicators out to your EDR tool to be on the watch out. Hey, is this running in my environment? Is it currently being detonated so that we can quarantine that box, isolate that process, or just whatever your triaging process is there. From our technological standpoint, what we do is we look at how that malware is behaving. So we look at deep content extraction. And so what we do is we look for everything that you would commonly see. Is it deploying malware? Is it using an encryption process? Is it decrypting passwords for ransomware? Is it looking at reconnaissance of that system directory? Does it have links within there? So we do a deep content search on that and see what it's unpacking, what it's deploying, and what's happening at that layer. And then something that we also do is also look at things that we're looking at from an image content standpoint, whether it's like social engineering techniques, whether we're looking at text from images. So we're able to extract anything from like SVG files coming here soon, QR codes, and then we're able to run those in our analysis as well. Some of the things that we also have within our tool stack is looking at like smart link detonation. So that's kind of the rule-based trigger and looking at links embedded within those emails or documents or things like Word files, Excel sheets, PDFs, and being able to run those through our detections as well. We also look at password protected files. So if anything is within those emails that are reported, we actually have a password dictionary where we run thousands of passwords to make sure that we can unlock it. Or we also give you the option to submit the password should you know it as well. And then also like browser simulation. So as we're looking at these emails and it leads to a redirect, we're looking at those adaptive browser simulations being able to detect what's happening there. So our machine learning will go in, we'll click on it. It says, download here from like a Microsoft OneDrive. We'll go in there, we'll click on it, we'll click on the email and download it and the Word document or whatever that attachment is and go ahead and simulate that and run that malware if there's anything triggered in there and analyze it from that perspective. So that's how we kind of help automate those processes. No need to do any manual work. We can actually do that fully automated and give you the results within the generated reports. With that, we're going to kind of do some questions here. So if we can send out those polls, we just kind of get a kind of like a market capture of what you guys see today. And if you guys can go ahead and answer those questions, we can see where everyone stands in as the first one goes. So we'll just take a minute here for that. So the common types of vectors that some of you guys see is email-based phishing with malicious attachments or links. So That is something that we also see as well, along with even just as a number two is like business email compromise and social engineering attacks. We kind of see a combo of both as our top tier ones. A third one I'll say right there is credential harvesting with fake login portals, so your Microsoft portals, your banking websites, things like that. But that is good to see. That we're still on par with the industry. And what do you guys see in your infrastructure as well? All right. But to continue on, and where we kind of help you with that is looking at machine learning. So we are constantly fine tuning our models and how we are able to detect things in the wild, being able to identify phishing and credential harvesting and giving you that within the report. So things like, is this, click on a next page, like if this came to a Cloudflare page, we actually look at the HTML and the CSS and look for things, keywords like click here next. So what our machine learning do is actually click that checkbox so that we can actually get to the phishing site or the malware itself. So part of that machine learning, we're able to automate some user interactions. So that is, again, putting in credentials and user input fields like password and username, clicking next on those links, clicking through all the redirects. If there's any malware, we actually go ahead and click it, execute it. So that's kind of that automated side. But say if your team wanted to get into more of the live interaction piece, what we do from that perspective is let your team jump inside the VM. It's a VNC session, and then we go ahead and let them click on anything. You can upload your own scripts, reverse engineer things, open up command prompts, whatever you guys need to do as a part of your analysis and triaging. So with that, so again, going back to automating us with any type of SOAR you have, we integrate with Tines, XOR, Splunk Phantom, all your common ones out there. So we kind of help you interact that playbooks, which we do right for you as a part of our integrations, and trying to look at those reported phishing and helping your SOC really empower the tools you have without even logging into VMRay. So it's kind of looking at step one, emails received, is reported to your team. We then pick it up. The SOAR will then help us analyze it, send it to us, and then we analyze the malware itself if there's any, and whether it's suspicious, clean, or malicious. We then send that information back down to your team and then give you any types of like executable playbooks you want, like, hey, should we go pull these emails out of the security gateway from your user's endpoint? Should we go ahead and also build rules out to see if any actual email spraying is happening currently? So are there the same type of emails being currently like time delayed and sent in chunks? So we give you, your email security gateway that active pulling of those emails and then also looking to detect those, whether they're coming in. So we're kind of helping you from both angles with your SOAR capabilities. So in conclusion, looking at what user-reported phishing is, it's always going to be happening, but it's that effective training layer that your end users have, and us being able to fit into whether your layer of detections and helping your SOC teams to make sure that any of your security controls that are bypassed, where can we fit in that layer to make sure and validate that, hey, we've seen these emails, your users have gotten them. We want to integrate with some of your tools and technology stacks and kind of help you from that perspective to help you secure your enterprises. But with that, we do offer three different insights. So deep response is kind of that manual. Final verdict is looking to automate that. And then total insight is kind of a combo of both. So you can select one of the first two or three, and that kind of gives you a flavor of both. But just to reiterate some of the integrations that we have today, all your common EDR tools out there, all your SIM tools, your SOAR tools, even your threat intelligence platform. So we can detonate and then send all these profiles, screenshots, and those kinds of things to your platform as well, if you guys are doing any threat intel and threat hunting. But with that, I'm going to show you kind of where we are from a demo perspective. So if we were to open up just kind of an example of a email. So this is an email that a user reported in this scenario. It's phishing. But I just want to make sure that we also have enough time. But something that I also want to ask you is our second question, just to see what you guys see out there. Can we get the second poll up here just to make sure that we have enough time? All right, so just as we want to see, do you guys effectively have any layer defenses to stop phishing emails before it reaches the end user today? So just, do you guys have email security gateways? Are you implementing security gateways and sandboxing together? Do you train employees regularly to deploy MFA, that kind of thing? So just with the last 5 minutes we have here, our top one is implement email security gateways with sandboxing dynamic analysis. So that is good to see that some of you guys are doing that. It's best practice, fine tuning your rules, making sure that you're catching up to 99%. But in the event that 1% does get through, like this test email here, this is something that I reported to our tool. So what's in that PDF, I can show you quickly. It is a QR code. End users are always looking to scan their iPhones or their phones to see where that link goes through. And so since the email security gateway missed it in this scenario, I went ahead and submitted it. So what do your end users see when they submit it? Or what does your security team want them to see? As a part of that email and us integrating with your process, whether you're using a no before reporting button, a proof point clear, or your own button, or if users are trained to forward it to a certain email address or anything like that, they can go ahead and forward it. What they'll see from us and from your perspective, from an end user point, is they'll see that that email is then submitted to our tool, or however you guys want us to indicate that, that, hey, this email's been seen. You can either turn this alerting off or you can turn it on, whether you want your end users to see this or not. But it will say, hey, we've confirmed it, we've seen it. It's going to take a few minutes to analyze. When it has analyzed, what we then do is send a confirmation email of the verdict. So what you'll see from that perspective is, hey, this is either clean, suspicious, or malicious. So we give your indicators to your end users. We also forward these events to your SIM or your security team via email alert, via ticketing system, however you guys want to do it. And that's kind of how we automate that process. So what does that look like in the form of a report? From your security team, what you'll be able to see is what we found in that email. So your analysts are not going to be wasting time opening every email in that suspicious email box. But what we can do is help you automate that and make sure that your team is only getting alerted on malicious emails and not clean ones or spam or anything like that. So what we do from that perspective is, again, look at those emails. We look at the headers, we look at the content, we look at any of those links. So we are able to pull that QR code. We were able to strip out that link, and we were able to follow that phishing link and anything in the contents of that phishing kit. So we show you where that is kind of being alerted on. So we have our own threat profiles. And then we also show you the screenshots of once we extracted that QR code, it leads to a banking website to where these users are looking for credential harvesting. So while we are able to extract all of that, we also do extract the network traffic. So essentially, where were those credentials being sent? We pull down the HTTP requests, all the API calls, anything within the DNS, TCP connections, as well as like the PCAP, or sorry, the SSL certs. However, we also do pull down PCAP files of every stream. So if you guys wanted to deep dive into those, you can, as well as the function logs. So we show you where all the redirects are, the referrals, and then you guys can kind of follow what's happening there. We also do show you the behaviors around it. So specifically within that phishing kit, all these URLs are not like just partly malicious. They're just kind of there for the chain, but we do show you when the URLs are being changed, and specifically where in that phishing kit you can follow those malicious links or those embedded processes of the attacker themselves. The last thing I wanted to show you here is the IOCs. So what makes us different than most sandboxes is the ability to show you all of the content that we were pulling out. So all the DNS traffic, all of the APIs, all of the credential harvesting, and where those things were sent. A lot of these things are kind of tertiary information. Where we see that we have found 129 artifacts, we like to filter out so that your team has more actionable items. So from this, if we were integrated in your stack, we would filter all those IOCs out. Should you select that policy, we would only send down information to your tools that's relevant. So things like if we're embedded with your SOAR, how can we stop that at your firewall, proxy, or web filtering tool to make sure your users are not able to click on that? or how can we pull these emails out with these redirects, the content of that, and pull these emails out of those endpoints over your security users' inboxes, or is your endpoint reaching out over this DNS request? So these are things that we help extract and make sure that they're more actionable for you and your team. But with that, we are at time. We will answer any questions as a follow-up, but we appreciate you guys joining, and thanks for your time.